for those that want to worship.
Yes, so just to clarify, we have moved from a position where we will be putting things that are cancelled, or we'll be marking those on the website as cancelled. We have now removed all the events, and the only things that you will see on our events page, which is acmb-church.org/events, are things which are confirmed as running. Please check the details of those before you attend, if possible. Reverend Victoria, what does that mean? Does that mean that the church is no longer doing anything, or can you share the extent to which the public services and activities are actually what the church is about?
Yeah, far from not doing anything. The church is rooted in prayer, and we will be praying continuously, but we just can't do that in public. So we can't hold services or invite people to come and pray with us, but we're hoping that we will be able to pray like this together, perhaps, and we will be holding, we will be making some other things available for people to be able to pray with us at home, a downloadable booklet, a booklet that you can actually have in your hands for those that don't do this sort of thing, and we'll be meeting as much as possible, but more than ever the church will be praying. We will also be holding or keeping our churches open during the day. So all our churches, as far as we can, we will endeavour to keep our churches open all day for people to be able to come in for quiet reflection. We will ask that people keep a safe distance from each other should there be more than one person in the church. And on Sunday mornings, we will be following our normal pattern of how we used to worship. So the churches will be open on a Sunday morning, and we'll be inviting people to come individually or as family groups from any time between 9 and 11 to take communion, to have an absolution if they wish, and a blessing. And they can do that at any time between 9 and 11. This Sunday we will be at St Mark in Ampfield between 9 and 11, or I will be. And I will celebrate communion, the sacrament, on my own beforehand, and then it will be available for distribution in one kind, so the bread only, for anyone who would like to come and take communion. But that's not just what the church is about. The church has historically always been there for people in times of trouble and hardship. The church has been always there in the forefront of social action. And we, as churches together in North Baddesley, with the True Life Church and with the Baptist Church and with Baddesley Friends, we'll be getting together to do what we can to help anybody who is feeling isolated, who needs help with food, shopping, anything that anyone needs. We would ask you to be in touch, and Ian, you will pop a phone number up shortly and an email where people can be in touch and arrange for some kind of help. Otherwise it's going to be phone calls and emails and what we can to keep together and to keep
that's
community
great
together.
That's absolutely right, and we aren't forgetting people who aren't online. So if you've got friends or neighbours who you know might like to hear from us or might like some spiritual content during this difficult time, please get them to contact us by telephone, and we will be delighted to help in whatever way we can. We've got some plans to circulate some CDs or some booklets. We also have a request from the NHS practice, the GP practice in the village, to share some information about their operation. The first and most important thing, which you will have probably heard from government press conferences, is please do not attend the practice if you have a continuous cough or a new fever. That is, please do not attend the practice if you have a cough or fever. Instead, use the NHS 111 service, which will help you to access the assistance that you need. At the present time, the practice is under great strain. They have 3 doctors self-isolating. They are trying to see patients remotely as much as possible, but the pressure of work is enormous. They said to me that they were seeing patients until 9 p.m. last night. So I know that you may be frustrated or be having difficulties getting hold of the surgery. They want you to know that they will be there for you and they are working as hard as they possibly can. If you are concerned that the service may deteriorate further, please know that they have contingency plans in place with the wider group of practices in the Romsey area, and that they will support you as much as possible. So that's a message from the North Baddesley medical practice, and they just to reiterate, if you have a continuous cough or a fever, please do not go to the surgery. I suppose, Victoria, there is one further question, and that is, how do we provide pastoral support, and what will happen about weddings and other occasional offices, including things, sadly, including funerals?
Yeah, this is a question that I've had quite a bit today, obviously with people who are arranging weddings fairly soon. The official advice from the archbishops is that weddings and funerals can go ahead, but with reduced numbers. So they advise that they are family members only at funerals and weddings. Of course, funerals, we don't have much way to delay those, but do come and talk to us and find out of ways that we might be able to do something for you if you are having to go through and arrange a funeral. We can do some different things, perhaps by deferring memorial services to later on or something like that. If you have a wedding booked and you're worried, we will be going ahead with weddings, but we may have to reduce the numbers. It's legal to be married just with 4 people present and the priest, so with myself, the couple and a witness each, so 2 witnesses, and we can do a marriage that way, and then perhaps we can do a celebration at another time, a bigger celebration, or the celebration at the reception. Of course, if you want to postpone, we can arrange that too and find another time to do that if that's what you would like. So weddings and funerals will be going ahead, but just with reduced numbers. Can't comment on how reception venues are going to cope with that, but we will.
Another question is, I know that you and Andrew Ashdown, the Reverend Andrew Ashdown, your husband, have done an awful lot of travelling into the wider world, especially around areas which are known as the developing world or middle income countries, where crises like this are not nearly as uncommon, where people experience famine and drought for long periods. Can you share how the church and local communities there pull together to make the crisis more livable?
Yes, well, it's about that being a community and being about being church, and church isn't anything actually to do with the building. We meet in these beautiful buildings, and in this country we have lots of really beautiful buildings, but the building is not the church. That's just a place where we meet. The church is the people of God. And so, yes, in these countries that we are lucky enough to visit, quite often war-torn countries, quite often the church has been demolished through war or is just not accessible. And people there they're not isolated perhaps quite in the same way as we are at the moment. But by praying together, by praying for each other, for reading our scriptures discussing them in best the ways we can, whether that's over the internet, whether that's by telephone, or whether we are able to get together as family groups. That's the way to keep ourselves and the light of Christ burning in our hearts and in our community. Can I just say something about the light of Christ, and something that the archbishops have asked us to do? This Sunday is Mothering Sunday, and will be a difficult Sunday for a lot of people, I'm sure, who cannot visit mothers and cannot be families together as perhaps they would like to be. Mothering Sunday can be quite a difficult Sunday anyway, for many different reasons. But this Sunday, the archbishops are asking us all to have a day of prayer on that day, but particularly at 7 p.m, at 7 o'clock in the evening, to pray together for each other, for the church, for this country, and for all of those who are affected by this dreadful coronavirus. And to demonstrate that we are doing this by lighting a candle and putting it in our windows at 7 o'clock on Sunday. So if you are the praying type, then please do join us by lighting a candle on Sunday evening and praying for all of those affected by this virus around the world, and those who are separated from each other.
Victoria, thank you very much for that. And can I say as well that my experience is that people in difficult situations, and this is a very difficult situation, often find that actually they do want to call out to God, or perhaps they're not sure whether it is God, or just to call out. And I would say that prayer begins with that act of calling out. So my encouragement is perhaps not to be afraid of just asking God and to communicate that way. I would also say that it doesn't matter if you haven't darkened the doors of a church in the last 30 years. All of us in the churches in North Baddesley, Churches Together in North Baddesley, Victoria, Ali and Neil at the Baptist Church, and the elders there and so on, we are all committed to supporting you however you need it. Please don't feel awkward. We would love to help. If the church is for anything, it's for us when we are at the extremes of life.
Absolutely.
So, thank you very much for joining us on this short broadcast. One of the things that we are going to do is to try and interview various people around the village about how they're coping, and if they're an organisation or if they represent an organisation, to ask them about what their organisation is doing. So whether you run a small business, or you're a contractor, or you're involved in local politics, or you run a support organisation, please do get in touch, and we'll try and book in a slot where we can have a chat online. The address to write to is comms, COMMS, at acnb-church.org. So comms, COMMS, at acnb-church.org, or hit us up on social media, and we will be delighted to try and have a conversation with you, either live like this or recorded beforehand. Thank you very much for joining us, and do keep in touch. Good night and God bless.
Right.